Welcome in, everyone, to another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be looking at something that a lot of people, I think, have a hard time with, or at least struggle to kind of conceptualize,
Yeah.
and that's the power of solitude.
Hmm.
We're going to be looking at some excerpts from Why Being Alone is Your Superpower from the LPot community.
Okay.
And this should be interesting because, I've talked to a lot of people about this, and it seems like more often than not, when they're alone, they don't really know what to do with themselves.
Yeah, I think that's really common. And actually, the source kind of touches on that.
Hmm.
Like, we've become so accustomed to constant stimulation and connection that we almost forget how to just be.
Right. It's like we've lost touch with that inner stillness.
Exactly. And the thing is, solitude isn't about being lonely. It's about choosing to be alone and using that time intentionally for growth, reflection, creativity, whatever it is you need.
It's just more about like a mindset shift than anything else.
Yeah, it's about reframing how we view alone time. Instead of seeing it as something to avoid, we can start to see it as an opportunity.
An opportunity for what exactly?
Yeah. Well, that's what we're going to dive into. The source actually outlines 7 superpowers of solitude, and the first one is self-reliance.
Okay, so when you're alone, you have to rely on yourself to figure things out,
Yeah.
make decisions, solve problems.
Precisely. And the more you do that, the more confident you become in your own abilities.
So it's like a muscle, you have to exercise it to make it stronger?
Exactly. You start to trust your own judgment, your own instincts. You realize that you're capable of handling things on your own.
That makes sense, but is there ever a point where self-reliance can go too far?
That's a great question, and it's important to remember that solitude is about balance. It's not about isolating yourself completely or becoming totally independent.
Right, it's about finding that sweet spot where you're comfortable being alone, but also able to connect with others in a healthy way.
Exactly. It's about becoming a whole person who doesn't need to rely on others for their sense of worth or happiness.
So once you've mastered self-reliance, or at least started to develop it, what's the next superpower on the list?
Well, the source says that solitude can actually enhance your creativity.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Explain that one to me.
Think about it. When you're constantly surrounded by noise and distractions, your mind doesn't have the space to wander to make those unexpected connections that spark creativity.
So it's like giving your brain some breathing room to just play around with ideas.
Exactly. Solitude provides that mental space for ideas to incubate, to percolate, to emerge fully formed.
And there are tons of examples of this throughout history, right?
Oh, absolutely. Think about artists like Virginia Woolf or scientists like Albert Einstein. They both famously relied on solitude to fuel their creativity.
So it's not just about being alone, it's about using that time to tap into your inner wellspring of creativity.
Precisely. And that brings us to the next superpower, self-discovery.
Ooh, that sounds deep. What does that mean exactly?
Well, it's about using the time alone to reflect on who you are, what you value, what your passions are, what you want out of life.
So it's like taking off all the masks and just being real with yourself?
Exactly. It's about peeling back the layers and connecting with your authentic self.
And I imagine that can be pretty uncomfortable at first.
It can be, but it's also incredibly liberating. When you finally allow yourself to be seen, to be known, even just by yourself, it can be a really powerful experience.
So how does this self-discovery tie into the other superpowers?
Well, it's all connected, really. When you know yourself better, you're able to make choices that are aligned with your values, and that leads to greater self-reliance and confidence. And when you're more comfortable in your own skin, you're less likely to seek validation from others, which frees up your creative energy and allows you to be more present in your relationships.
It's like a ripple effect. One superpower leads to another.
Exactly. And the next superpower on the list, emotional resilience, is a direct result of self-discovery.
Okay, so how does spending time alone make you more emotionally resilient?
In solitude, you learn to sit with your emotions, to process them without judgment, to develop coping mechanisms that don't rely on external validation.
So instead of immediately calling a friend when you're feeling down, you take some time to figure out what's going on inside.
Exactly. You start to develop that inner strength that allows you to navigate difficult emotions without falling apart.
And that's a valuable skill to have in a world that can feel so chaotic and unpredictable.
Absolutely. Emotional resilience is essential for navigating life's ups and downs.
But it's not just about mastering our inner world, right? The source also claims that solitude can make us more productive.
It might seem counterintuitive, but yes, solitude can actually boost your productivity.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to explain that one. Because I always thought that being around people collaborating, brainstorming, that's what sparked productivity.
Well, collaboration definitely has its place, but think about it. How many times has a brainstorming session turned into, people just kind of going off on tangents?
Oh, yeah.
All the
Okay.
time. And you get distracted, and, you end up spending an hour talking about something that's totally irrelevant to the task at hand.
So true. It's like you need that focused energy to actually get things done.
Right. Solitude eliminates all those distractions, and it allows you to really just, hone in on what you need to do.
It's like creating a mental sanctuary for your to-do list.
Exactly. And, it's funny because we often think of productivity as being this really outward-facing thing. Like, we need to be constantly interacting with others to get things done.
Right. It's all about networking and collaboration.
But the truth is, sometimes the most productive thing you can do is just shut off the outside world and focus inward.
I'm starting to see the appeal of solitude more and more.
And that brings us to another really interesting benefit of solitude that the source highlights.
Okay, lay it on me.
It can actually strengthen your relationships.
Wait, hold on. How does spending less time with people make your relationships better?
Well, think about it this way. When you're comfortable being alone, you're not relying on others to fill a void or to complete you.
So you're not coming into relationships with this desperate need for attention or validation,
Exactly. You're bringing a sense of wholeness to the table.
which allows for healthier, more balanced connection.
Precisely. The source even suggests that people who embrace solitude often make better partners and friends because they understand the importance of both connection and independence.
That's an interesting perspective. We always hear about the importance of communication and quality time in relationships, but no one ever talks about the value of spending time apart.
It's all about finding that equilibrium.
The yin and yang of togetherness and solitude.
Exactly. And when you master that balance, you create space for both personal growth and meaningful connections.
I like that. Okay, so we've covered self-reliance, creativity, self-discovery, emotional resilience, and now even better relationships. What's the next superpower on the list?
The source calls it cultivating inner peace.
Okay, that sounds a bit like out there. Can you bring it down to earth for me?
It's actually quite simple. Solitude provides a refuge from the constant noise and demands of the outside world.
It's like hitting the pause button on life.
Exactly. You can finally just be without all the doing.
And that allows you to tap into a sense of calm and stillness that you might not even know you were missing.
Precisely. It's about quieting the mental chatter and reconnecting with yourself at a deeper level.
And that inner peace ripples outward,
Yeah.
right? It affects how you interact with others, how you handle stress, how you approach challenges.
Absolutely. You become more grounded, more centered, more at ease with yourself and the world around you.
It sounds like solitude is the key to unlocking a whole new level of well-being.
I think so.
Okay, so we've explored all 7 benefits of solitude that the source highlights. Self-reliance, enhanced creativity, self-discovery, emotional resilience, productivity, stronger relationships, and cultivated inner peace.
Quite a list.
It is. And what's really striking to me is that we've been kind of sold a lie about happiness. Like we're always told that happiness comes from, achieving things, buying things, having tons of friends and followers.
Right.
But maybe it all starts with being okay with just being by ourselves.
I think you're onto something. The beauty of solitude is that it allows us to strip away all those external layers and just connect with who we really are, at our core.
Yeah, and the source makes it clear that you don't need to go live in a cave or anything to experience these benefits.
Right.
Even small doses of solitude can make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Like just taking a walk in nature without your phone. Or spending a few minutes meditating each morning.
Yeah. It's about creating space for yourself to disconnect from the constant noise and demands.
And I love how the source emphasizes that this isn't selfish.
Right.
It's actually an act of self-care that allows us to show up as our best selves for, our loved ones, for our communities.
It's about recognizing that solitude is essential for our well-being. Just like we need sleep and we need nourishment, we need time alone to recharge.
To reconnect with our inner wisdom.
Exactly.
So for anyone listening who's feeling overwhelmed or burnt out or just like they've lost their way, I encourage you to give solitude a try.
Yeah, start small. Find pockets of time in your day where you can disconnect from the digital world and just be with yourself.
Pay attention to how it makes you feel. You might be surprised at what you discover. Maybe a hidden talent or a new perspective, or just a sense of peace that you didn't know was possible.
And remember the power of solitude. It's available to all of us. It's just waiting to be unlocked.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the power of solitude. Hopefully, we've inspired you to explore the transformative potential of being alone.
I hope so.
Until next time, be well, and remember to take some time for yourself.